Looks like this is it.
Ugh, it stinks.
Sure does.
No way, Leon.
Way.
So one thing I always say that sets Bernie Sanders apart from the other candidates, generally in the presidential field, but mainly the Democratic Party, is his foreign policy. Now, even people who are so-called progressive, like Elizabeth Warren, prop up the status quo when it comes to foreign policy. Remember, she gave weak source answers on things like Israel. Even people like Tulsi Gabbard are problematic in my opinion, even though she's kind of irrelevant at this point, because her foreign policy, I believe, stems from an America First type thing, whereas Bernie Sanders' whole foreign policy stems from a principled stance on peace and justice. So Tulsi Gabbard annoys me because, yeah, she's ending all the, wants to end all the wars, wants to clamp down on the military-industrial complex, but then she'll praise people like Sisi for cracking down on Islamic extremism in Egypt. She's obviously praised Modi in India numerous times. Of course, Modi is a militarist prime minister. He has the backing from Hindu nationalist organisations. The stuff he's been up to in Kashmir is super problematic. So backing someone like that is not consistent with a foreign policy based in peace and justice. So again, that's why Bernie Sanders is the strongest when it comes to this. So I'm going to play for you a clip from a CNN town hall in which he talks about Israel and he talks about Saudi Arabia. Take a look. And oh yeah, this clip might be a bit distorted. I might put it in black and white and put a border around it just so my video doesn't get claimed, but you're still going to see it.
To be for the Israeli people and to be for peace in the Middle East does not mean that we have to support right-wing, racist governments that currently exist in Israel. And let me tell you this also, and I feel strongly about it as somebody who's Jewish, and knowing how much our people have suffered over the years. Take a look at what's going on in Gaza right now. You've got youth unemployment, 70%. You got people can't even leave the area. What American foreign policy has got to be about is in the Middle East, bringing the Israelis, bringing the Palestinians together under the banner of justice. All right? And that means, and we can do it. We have the wealth to do it. It cannot just simply be a one that we're just pro-Israel and we ignore the needs of the Palestinian people. We've got to pay attention to both. And by the way, it's not a dissimilar situation with regard to Iran and Saudi Arabia. For years, we have loved Saudi Arabia, our wonderful ally. Only problem is the people who run that country are murderous thugs. All right? And I believe that instead of being really cozy with Mohammed bin Salman there, the billionaire dictator of Saudi Arabia, I believe, President Obama made good progress in this way, and we've got to build on that we can bring the Saudis and the Iranians together. Tell them that we're sick and tired as a nation spending trillions of dollars on endless wars. They're going to have to get their act together. And we have the resources to help bring that about.
So very strong language from Bernie Sanders there. In the context of the presidential primary, you're not going to get many people talking like that about Israel and Saudi Arabia. Because in a lot of situations, if you talk about Israel like that, you're going to be called an anti-Semite, and that happened here in the UK with Jeremy Corbyn, where he didn't even talk about Israel like that, and he was smeared non-stop. So I appreciate Bernie using his position as a Jewish person to call out the Israeli government, the right-wing, racist Israeli government, because it's good he can't get smeared as an anti-Semite, because how can you be an anti-Semite when you are a Jew yourself? Not that people haven't tried, saying that, Ben Shapiro said he's not a real Jew. Many people like him, when they pal around with Palestinians, they're not real Jews either, so it can go that way, but I appreciate it. And of course he's right. Israel itself is an apartheid state, because if what Israelis claim, that the whole region is Israel, Palestine doesn't exist, then you're admitting that these people, these Palestinians who live in Israel, you are purposely not giving them civil rights. So how can that be seen as anything other than an apartheid state? You are saying their country doesn't exist, so they live in your country, but you're not giving them equal rights. Again, Bernie Sanders doesn't completely say something like that, but saying that Netanyahu is racist is a good step, because Netanyahu is way more brazen about being anti-Palestinian. And if you read into the history, a lot of the Palestinian leadership from the 60s said they wish they never took this Palestinian land even more because of the reaction it has given, and they said the terrorism is just not worth it in the end. So Bernie Sanders saying, get them to sit down, work out the differences, we have the money, we have the resolve to do this. It might seem like it wouldn't work, but there was a time in world history where people did think this could work, and that is in the late 90s with Bill Clinton. That is what he wanted to do, because Jimmy Carter had made great progress in that he brought about peace between Israel and Egypt from two people who'd been heavily involved with all these wars between the Arab states and Israel, Sadat and Begin. So of course there are obstacles there as well with Netanyahu. You really can't negotiate with a guy like that, so hopefully he's out of office sooner rather than later. And he makes a great point about the Iranians and the Saudis, because people like to paint the American-Saudi relationship as one that is completely necessary, that if America isn't as, you know, friendly with them, where's the oil going to come from? And America does actually have pretty good domestic oil supplies. Canada has a lot of oil that it gives to America as well. But the Saudis need America just as much. Even though they are offering America a vital product, they need them for the weapons, they need them for the assistance, they need them for the money, because their economies are tied up together. There is financial pressure you can put on the Saudis to come to an agreement with the Iranians to stop these proxy wars. The main one being Yemen, of course. And that is something I believe Bernie Sanders is best suited to lead, and people he would hire to pursue that agenda. And it's nice to see him saying this. And that's why I believe Bernie Sanders is the best candidate on foreign policy. People like to say Tulsi just because she calls out, you know, the military-industrial complex more. It's not that Bernie doesn't talk about it, it's that that is her thing, really. But I find her foreign policy is not cemented in a worldview of let's stand up for all oppressed people. It's more like let's stop wasting American money and American lives. While that comes into Bernie's whole view of the world, it's based on help oppressed people, stop perpetuating the US empire that props up all these awful regimes, that lets them get away with murder, with fascism, with awful style capitalism that is even worse than in America and the UK. We use the IMF to destroy these countries and destroy the lives of the people in these countries. Stop sanctions that do nothing but kill the poorest people in these countries. Because that's where Bernie's worldview comes from, and I just think if you're going to elect someone based on foreign policy, he is the best candidate to do it. Now, I'm going to make a video later on talking about what the realistic version of Bernie's presidency will look like, because I believe one man going into the heart of the US empire and trying to change it from the inside is not going to work the way you think it is, whether that is Tulsi Gabbard with her view of foreign policy or Bernie Sanders. But there are achievements you can make and steps you can take to really change the approach to foreign policy. Obama tried it when he came in. When he first came in, he had this whole vision of the world where America is not going to do what it did with Bush. We're going to be a guy that goes around, we're going to listen to people, we're going to help people. And there was real hope with Obama, like with everything he promised. Jimmy Carter is another one. Not a pacifist, as many people like to say. He was actually in the Navy. And before he negotiated to get the Iranian hostages released, he did plan a commando raid, which would have been high in fatalities for both the commandos, the hostages, and the Iranians. But the operation went wrong on the way to the embassy. But he pursued peace and justice through things like negotiating for the hostages, through things like the peace deal between Egypt and Israel, through his general view of the world, letting the Sandinistas take over Nicaragua, not intervening there. Look what Reagan did when he came in. So you can have successes, you can make US foreign policy better, even if you can't fundamentally change the sort of monster that the US empire is. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think about Bernie's foreign policy? Do you think it is better than Tulsi Gabbard's? Thank you for the 8,000 subscribers. Please subscribe if you're new. I really want to hit 10k this year. It would just be so great. It just sounds so legit, and I can use YouTube stories, which is cool as well. So please help me get to 10k, maybe share the video. If you want to follow me on social media, @TheCavernacle on pretty much everything, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is the best one to follow me at. Also my subreddit, which is r/TheCavernacle. That is quite fun. We have 31 people in there now, so please join. My personal Reddit account is u/TommyCahill1995. I also have a Reddit and I really thank everyone for donating and everything. It's just amazing that people do that. But if you feel like contributing any amount of money, please take a look at it. If you want to read something I wrote, check out my WordPress. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.